Hey everyone, welcome back to Southern Custom CC. Today we're going to be doing the unboxing of the G4 69cc engine kit. Now this is a slightly upgraded kit. It has a balance crank, a 3-liter gas tank, a upgraded NT carb with a larger jet, as well as a couple other little bonuses. So straight out of the unboxing, let's go into the engine. As you can see, it comes in one piece. It does have the Allen bolts, 40 millimeter, slightly banged up intake, has the M8 studs with the Loctite. Nylon Loctite on it. Has the rounder exhaust, but if you can see in there, there's also a slight lip that's at the border edge of the exhaust. Now I don't know if that is from, some designs have a split exhaust to create back pressure, but I doubt that is the case here. I'm wondering if that is just a design flaw. Now that could easily be dremeled out. It does not look like it's touching the piston, so if you leave it, I don't see what could go wrong, but your best bet is to Dremel it out. The gasket blocks a port match, so even though it may be port matched slightly with the muffler, but it does have the flat edges, so it won't be a full port match. The exhaust also limits it probably about 1 millimeter all the way around. So if you want a true port match, you'd have to cut your gasket and widen it. It is a slightly cleaner casing. "12-volt magneto. An upgraded weather washer. Helps block out some water going into your magneto chamber. But what we really want to look at here is what's in that clutch. So once we come in here and we take off this flower nut, whoa, boom, look at that. The clutch plate doesn't pop out. Well, why is that? Because no spring. So the manufacturer says that they do this for a reason, for better grip. But what's going to happen is, yes, your bike can start a few times, but it's going to get settled in, and after 1 or 2 times your bike's not going to start. Okay, your plate, and if it's always sitting up against that clutch pad, you'll have some residual rubbing up against your clutch pads. It'll wear it out. The spring also pushes the plate out, which keeps your nut in place and your flower nut in place from that spinning and losing that. So these engines don't have the clutch spring in them. Furthermore, when we come over to the magneto, so when we come into the magneto, look at that, nice and loose. Nice and loose. These magnetos are gonna go out. If these aren't tightened down, you're gonna get so much friction in there from it bouncing around and moving around that it's gonna heat up and it's gonna lose its magnetism. And then you're gonna have a faulty magneto. It's gonna start to separate, it's gonna lose its magnetism, and then your bike won't start. You can typically tell when your magneto goes out when you go and start the bike and you kind of hear it boom, pop, boo. And then if you keep pedaling and you keep pedaling through it, stand up and keep pedaling through it, and you occasionally hear a pop, pop, but it doesn't ever really catch, it's most likely this magnet. Okay? And it's already bent up. So I think this is just a poor magnet in here. It's already starting to separate slightly. And it wasn't even tightened down. So let's go ahead and pull this off a little bit more. Okay, there is a lock key, a Woodruff key. But look how sloppy that is. It's like it's melted down in there. That's not clean. Your magneto's rubbing up against that. So I'm running my fingers across this bearing cap. It feels melted. It's bumpy as I run my fingers across it. So if you put your magneto down, you tighten it down. I don't want to lose that Woodruff key. And you tighten it down, and your magneto's rubbing, and it's bumping, and it's bumping. Look what's happening. See that bend already? Yeah, you create a bend. These things collide. It's going to cause friction. Friction causes heat. Heat demagnetizes. Boom. Got a bad magnet. So, until they fix these, I would not recommend the G4. And if your bike is not starting, chances are it's either the clutch, because it's missing that spring, or it's a faulty magneto. So that's a quick diagnosis. Alright, so we're going to continue on with the unboxing. So we got a standard filter. We are going to have a male petcock, the standard Z8C spark plug. Here's another kind of gripe I have. This is a larger spark plug tool remover and nut remover for your gear, but a lot of builds, the spark plug is pretty close to that top frame, so a big piece like this is not going to fit. I do like it that you can fit your standard 80 as well as your NGK spark plugs, but this tool is not going to fit on most builds because of its height. So that's kind of one of my smaller gripes. I do like these bolts though for your typical sprocket, if you're going to go with the regular rubber mount. The lock nut, or the lock washer, as well as the regular washer, are stuck up at top, and that really helps when you're trying to shove through, you know, your nut through the grommet as well as the metal clips, while still trying to get your M10, or I'm sorry, your M6 nut at the end of your nut. So that is, you know, a very nice addition to have those locked and set right there. Now, as we dig in further, we have the shorter distance muffler, so it's not as long as some of the others. So this actually clears most pedals nicely, and there's a little bit wider gap between the pedal and the muffler. On the down pedal, we have what looks like a slightly upgraded CDI. So this is a 7.5 millimeter copper core wire and an upgraded boot. So with this boot, you will have to take off the tip of the spark plug to make that fit. The standard throttle, kill switch, the carburetor is the NT standard. It has the high performance cover, and it does also have a slightly larger jet in there as well. It's the same as the YD100, I believe, which is a 0.78 or the 0.79 off the top of my head. As the Zeta clutch, what I would do with these clutch levers is, before you install it, hold this down, hold your lever down, unscrew that screw, put some Loctite on it, and screw it back in. Because if it's facing down and you use that lever a lot, eventually that screw will come loose, and then you'll lose your locking mechanism for this clutch. So I'd recommend Loctiting that screw on the bottom side of that Zeta clutch lever. Standard 415 chain. We have the 2-bolt M8 chain idler. So that's a nice addition, having these thicker so you can get some more torque. I do always use nylon nuts there to get added torque, as well as a little rubber grommet. Most times I will also drill in through this and into the bike and Loctite it so that it doesn't move and sway if somebody wants to stay with the traditional rubber grommet setup. Now you do also have a 14 millimeter bolt head and the 14 millimeter nut on the other side. So this adds a little bit extra torque, so this isn't moving under pressure as much. Now another smaller gripe I have with this motor kit is that it comes with a standard mount, but the U-bolt is an M6 setup. I want that M8. I want that thicker M8 setup. Adds a stronger connection to the bike. So that's another gripe I have with that. Now moving on lastly to the gas tank. One of the benefits of this kit, however, is the 3-liter gas tank. It's a much larger gas tank. It has the extra seal, so gas won't come spilling out. But it's not protected, so you end up with some scuffs and some dents. The engine's not protected with some foam, so you end up with a bent up intake port or maybe some other parts. It does have the M6 versus the M5 bolts, and it has the wider mounts. So this is really easy to mount to most bikes, and you can get a better torque off of it too, and it holds in place better. I like how this exit port of the gas tank is straight down. It's not angled, so that you'll get a good gravitational flow of gasoline. And I do also like the male petcocks versus the female petcocks, because those nuts tend to break the link if you over tighten it. So overall, this would be a really good kit. The engine does have some power. Once you fix the magneto Once you fix the clutch spring, you Dremel out that exhaust. These are actually very powerful engines because I do those modifications for personal bikes, but I'm not selling these engines anymore. If you have noticed, I did sell them on my website, but as soon as I figured these out and the problems that are connected to these engines, I've taken them down. So I do apologize about that. We all make mistakes, but until this engine is fixed, I'm not going to carry these, and I do not recommend these at all until these are fixed. So if you have a problem, I do recommend taking it up with your retailer. And once again, if you purchased it from me, I do apologize, but we are willing to fix this and remedy this as soon as possible. So please hit me up if you did purchase it from me, and we will take care of you. Otherwise, hit up your manufacturer, your seller, and ask that manufacturer to either refund you or get the parts back. Well, once again, thanks for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed watching it. I also hope it really does help you out in the long run. Be sure to like and subscribe. Leave your questions, comments, concerns, suggestions in the comment box below. But thanks for watching, everyone. Happy building. Fly low and avoid the radar.